Well, political analyst Dirk Kotze joins me now to chat about campaigning and voting during adjusted level 2 of lockdown. Prof, thank you for your time and good morning to you. Obviously, we've now been moved to alert level 2 according to the President's announcement yesterday. But that means there is an impact here on the local government elections, just in terms of obviously more and more people now being able to actually feeling free to go out and, cast their votes if ever they felt that level 3 would have restricted them. But what the political implications do you think does this announcement have on the local government elections?
Well, I think it will have two implications. The first one is the number of persons who can attend a rally or some form of gathering. Inside it will be a maximum of 250 and outside 500. That means that the big events, like, for example, the launching of an election manifesto, some parties have done that already, and the closing event, the ANC, for example, at the Siyakoba rally normally at the end of their campaign, those things can't take place. So what we are going to see is actually a form of decentralization of its campaign. So it's going to be many more events, but in terms of scale, it will be smaller. At the same time, I think what we are also going to see is because of that, there will be the campaign will have to be designed to have a more of an impact because of the smaller scale of it. And then at the same time, I think what we are also going to see, and this has more to do with the fact that it is a relatively short campaign, maximum of 6 weeks, is that they will be able to spend less. And that fits actually, I think, most parties, but it's the impact of this, the new legislation that's applicable since the 1st of April. So it means that, again, they won't be able to have a long period in order to campaign and therefore spend a lot of money on it. And that will also favor the smaller parties, as well as the independent candidates, about 1,000 of them at the moment. So it does have implications, but none of them actually very negative. Yeah. The majority of the campaign will be quite similar to previous campaigns, except for the number of big events.
And Prof, with that said, that's just more on the political party's perspective. Do you think it will impact voter turnout?
That's difficult to determine. I don't think there's a direct correlation between the regulations as they stand at the moment and voter turnout. We have to remind ourselves that voter turnout at local government elections have been very low all over the years. Since the first election in 1995, 2000, and thereafter 2006 and 11 also. And it was around about 50%. The latest was in 2016, 57%. If we look at the by-elections, even before the pandemic, around about 30%, between 30 and 40%. So that's around about 20% less than national and provincial election turnouts. So we can't now suddenly expect a very high turnout or a very low turnout. My guess is that it will be still within the range that I've just mentioned now. And it's not because of that there are limitations on voters in terms of going out to vote, but rather the motivation in general to vote in local government elections are lower than for national and provincial elections.
Yeah. How's your confidence, Prof, in terms of the state of preparedness and readiness of the IEC? We heard just a clip there from the Deputy Chief Electoral Officer, Masego Shiburu, saying that after the announcement was made by both the court and, of course, the Minister, Dr. Nkosi Dlamini Zuma, that the date is now officially 1st November, they're confident that they're well on their way to ensure that free and fair elections do occur on the 1st of November.
You know, the IEC is an institution that works with tradition. Since it started with the elections, actually in 1994, but especially thereafter, they have established a working pattern, which are exactly the same with each election. And they normally start preparing about a year before the election. So what we are experiencing at the moment is the last components of the election. But the main part of the preparations have been done over the last year already. For example, how to make sure that the voters' roll is more or less up to date. And especially now for this election, what's going to be very important is the Constitutional Court judgment that the addresses of individual voters must be up to date as much as possible.
All right.
So I would say what is going to be a pressure for them is the printing of the ballot papers. About 75 million must be printed within 2 weeks. But that they've done in the past. It's not as if it's going to be an absolutely new experience for them.
One to think about. Thank you so much for highlighting that. Political analyst Professor Dirk Kotze joining us this morning.